Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Taco Movie Talks, and this is week 16. And this week we have a lot in store for you. So I hope you check out the other episodes that come out either today or tomorrow if you're watching this. Um, there's a packed palette of just some absolutely great movies that I'm definitely going to be recommending here at the end of everything. And the ones that I watched kind of solo um, to record on my own, we have Virgin Spring by Ingmar Bergman, or by Ingmar Bergman, Get Out by Jordan Peele, and of course Midsommar by Ari Aster. And thank you for joining me. Please please subscribe. We're getting real close to 100, so every subscription is pretty big, pretty monumental, and I hope you like this video as we go through it. Without further ado, let's start with Virgin Spring by Ingmar Bergman, and this one is pretty harrowing, and it's I think as you watch some older movies, it becomes surprising whenever the weight that these movies carry still is there. This is an adapted work, and it has the typical Ingmar Bergman fingerprints on it and is very highly religious in its messaging, as you see in The Seventh Seal, as you see in a lot of his other films. He kind of has certain spheres that his themes will fit into, or buckets, maybe, for lack of a better term, religion being one of them. And I know that it played a big part in his life, which is what makes him such an interesting director, because you see his films kind of evolve along with him. This is really neat in that we get a story that really revolves around a daughter who had been pampered, first and foremost. That needs to be said, I think. And she is sent, because she is a virgin, to the church, which, and this is set in the 17th century, I believe, either the 17th century or the 1700s. And not that I'm mixing that up. Um, the definition, it's more or less, can't remember uh, what was said. But anywho, the church is very far away, so she has to get there via horse to light these candles. And we have these kind of bandits, these nomadic goat farmers come across her, and you kind of instantly get a feeling that they are nefarious in their kind of wants and needs. And then, and this is kind of, I mean, it's 62 years after this movie came out, but a lot of people, including myself, are just discovering Bergman. And if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out before I kind of go into the detail. I'm sure it won't really ruin any of your appreciation of it, but there is a very graphic scene in which there is an assault on the Virgin, and it was so shocking because you look at movies in this time period and you don't quite expect that. And it happened, and then, as fate would have it, the path leads these kind of bandits to try to unload ill-gotten goods, because they murdered the daughter after this vicious assault, and tried to sell the goods to her family unknowingly, of course. And it leads to a path of revenge, which gets us to the end, in which they discover the body where it was left, and after kind of picking up her body, a spring has sprung. Very symbolic. Um, and there's some further details. One of the big ones at the very end is that the father vows to build a church in penance for his how he got his revenge with his bare hands right where she was murdered. And it kind of speaks to you on a level that it's like these people, and perhaps Bergman thinks it as well. If you don't have access to a higher spiritual environment, that it allows the corruption of your soul to happen more easily. Um, him, his family, the people who stay with them are very devout, but they have probably the desire to seek out spirituality via Catholicism. So they don't see the same erosion of their spirit. And then, but there's a flip side, as you kind of see a lot with Bergman films. His messaging is, I think, always like very deep and kind of layered in that you can look at things from different perspectives, and you can kind of get a lot of different messages out of the same film, which is a mark of a great filmmaker as far as I'm concerned. And Bergman is one of my favorites for sure. And it's that despite the fact that this family is so um, tied to their spirituality and tied to Christ, that they themselves kind of fall into the pitfalls of revenge, of murder, in that I think the world is filled with sin, um, in that we all sin to varying degrees, and I think it's just very much speaking to human nature, um, in that we kind of have the mother who's the most devout, we have the father who's not as devout, and then the daughter who is somewhat devout or pretty devout, but maybe doesn't keep the importance of church and religion as high as her parents do. And I think that's kind of symbolic in a way, um, that with time or not symbolic, I think it's very true. I think, unless it's very much instilled within you, it's natural. But I think kind of the way it's illustrated at the end, and as this daughter is picked up from the ground after she had been assaulted and then viciously murdered, and then a spring comes through, it kind of is saying like this terrible thing can lead to the spread of good, of life, and of spiritual life. It's a major side plot that I left kind of for the end, is that there is a woman here who is also very guilty of sin in her own way, and that she might have been in a similar circumstance, and that she might have been taken advantage of, or just kind of fell victim to bad judgment and was pregnant, and was meant to ride with the daughter as she went to light the candles, and kind of did nothing during the assault, which, whether she could have stopped it or not, is kind of a question for you to answer for yourself. But it kind of spoke to, you know, how one sin can lead to a greater sin, in jealousy, and then just how we kind of let these atrocities happen because of how flawed we can be. And overall, I thought this was a tremendous movie. It's one of Bergman's, great movies. And I don't want to denote it or say anything bad about it. When I say it's not like one of the top three for me, but that is just because his catalog is so strong, and I really love the likes of Persona, Autumn Sonata, and he is, you know, I think now I can confidently say he is one of my favorite directors, and one that you should definitely check out if you haven't seen any of his films. And it's a wide array of great content, to where it's like, and I've only seen 7 of his films, but I mean, on average, I rate him near 4.5 total. And this one I gave a 4. So there's ones that are better, but this is so solid and so very good that you have to check it out if you get the opportunity. Moving on, next, we have Get Out by Jordan Peele. And quite frankly, this is one of those debuts that is so strong, it really makes you wonder, man, where is he going to go from here? I thought Get Out was his best effort so far, and I have not seen Nope yet. So, I mean, that's very just direct comparison to Us. And but Get Out, I thought, was just freaking so good, and one of those ideas that kind of is, the twist and the unveil is up there with like Sixth Sense level stuff, and for that to be a debut, that's really special. It has so many great details that really work for it, that on the rewatch, as this was for me, I think you get a lot of appreciation for what Jordan Peele did as a filmmaker, as well as some of the visuals. There is some really iconic visuals in this one. All the sunken place kind of scenes are so good. That image is, it's frightening. It kind of perfectly gives you this feel of an existential dread. It's the type of horror that it works on kind of a psychological level, and that is pretty damn impressive to do for anyone. Debut, not your debut, what have you, but Peel really came out of the gate swinging. Us was very well done too, but this one is so far from what I've seen his best. But I'm hearing very good reviews about Nope, and it. I mean, we're very lucky to have the likes of a Jordan Peele and Ari Aster, and then not being covered in this video, but covered not too long ago, Robert Eggers, because all on their third feature, or moving out of their third feature. Well, I could be wrong on that, but anywho, they're all very like starting to hit their stride, and it was damn impressive. So that was tremendous to see, and I really quite liked this film, and I gave it a 4 stars, just for the record. Um, so if you haven't seen it yet, the twist is amazing. If you have seen it, I encourage you for a rewatch, because it is um, pretty damn amazing. And a lot of the acting was pretty good, I think, especially from the kind of people working in the house. And there's some funny scenes in this one. And going into our next film, I think it's something that's important to say too. I found Midsommar to be much funnier than I remembered. So this is, and I think it's somewhat expected, because Jordan Peele has such an extensive background in comedy. Rod Stewart, I'm hoping I'm not getting that mixed up with another famous person, but Rod, the TSA agent, is um, just absolutely hysterical. And then a lot of the small details, um, it even like there's a deer's head which impacts the father, and it's kind of ironic because he makes a comment about deer when we first see him. The kind of historical importance of cotton with the slave trade and slave labor, and how that is kind of used to save our main character, for lack of a better term. A lot of the dialogue that happens, and they do kind of cut back to it and show you, um, because I think it takes you so off guard. I remember seeing this film for the first time, and it never crossed my mind kind of what was actually happening. And there probably is a few people who might have been able to catch the twist before it was unveiled, but um, to kind of roll through it and show you like, hey, this is where we were tipping our hands at it. It's great seeing it through in real time, so like rewatching the whole movie and really picking up on all these details. But um, I think it was beneficial. It might irk some people to like kind of spoon feed it to you, but on a first watch, it might be necessary just so it's as a proof that it's like, hey, look, like we were kind of alluding to this the whole time, and you know what I mean. Um, I could see people looking at that either way. In my mind, I think it worked. Even on the rewatch, it wasn't something that irked me whatsoever. So, um, but it was definitely a great film. Um, can't argue that. It was a 4 out of 5 for me, and it's a top tier twist for sure. So if you like that, and I don't think if you haven't watched it yet, I don't think I gave really much away. You're definitely still going to be able to appreciate this one. And then, last but not least, Midsummer. Um, this one is, I had rated it and ranked it kind of prior to when I started really trying to write reviews and think about this as hard as I possibly could. And this was a movie that really bumped up for me after rewatching it. And I think a lot of people will enjoy it on the rewatch as well. First of all, the effects that were done were absolutely tremendous. There's a lot of stuff like that just seems moving and living and to make you kind of feel like you're experiencing some drug induced hallucinations. It was subtle but there, and it worked very well within this film. There are kind of super intense actions that are taken. We get one at the beginning, we get another one kind of closer to the middle of the film, and then the there's some that aren't quite as intense, but I mean there's like just kind of gut punches throughout this entire film, and the ending is so very strong. To do everything basically in the daytime was a great idea. I thought the plot was great and what it was trying to tell and how it went about it, kind of how you can get drawn into these situations when you're weak, when you're vulnerable, and how you look for what you're lacking in your life when you kind of get brought into groups like this. And not speaking from personal experience, but you watch enough documentaries on stuff like this, and I am being personally, or I am being purposefully vague just in case some of you have not watched this yet. But it speaks on a really strong level. Having that underlying message is really great for this. But I just have to say the ending in those very powerful, like literally shocking scenes. Ari Aster, I think, is the he is good at that. and I mean, it's like getting where your stomach just feels like it just drops. That is, it's as powerful as the jump scare, more so, and it's actually more enjoyable because it feels earned when it's like something so shocking happens just abruptly, which is, it's like in its own way, it's like it's taking the jump scare and it's evolving it into something deeper, where it kind of is earned and it becomes such a vital plot point that it's not a cheap, a cheap trick. Um, so kudos to Aster for that, because that, I think, is something that a lot of people would agree with if they probably either noticed it themselves or probably agree with it after hearing that. It's proof that Aster is here to stay. I think he's going to be one of the horror greats moving forward, and I can't wait to see what he's working with Joaquin Phoenix on. I'm not sure if that's horror. I don't super keep track of everything that goes on with that, but this one benefited from a rewatch. I think it went from top 20, and now I think it's in my top 10 for all horror movies that I've liked and ranked. Well, not liked, but ranked or rated. So if you haven't seen it, ooh, it is time to watch it. It's graphic in some parts. It is shocking. It's not for the faint of heart, but it is one of the best, I think, within the last 5 years, certainly, but maybe further back than that. Um, it's damn good. So, hope you like this short video. Please like and subscribe. Also, comment which was your favorite of the two, Get Out or Midsommar. Midsommar, I gave a 4.5 stars, so that was my favorite between these. But also, who do you think has the brightest future as far as kind of young directors of our times? A lot of people put Robert Eggers first. Some people might argue Ari Aster, but Jordan Peele is also kind of breaking the mold a lot in his own way. So I would love to hear what y'all guys' thoughts are, and I will catch you on the flippity swoop. Thank y'all.